need any microphones. So for the next, I'm going to start watching. For the next half hour or so, although it's 50 minutes, not going to take it that long, I'm going to talk to you about design and operational teams not working together, and actually what we can do when we actually work together. Okay, so a little bit about me then. I've worked in the predominantly the telecommunications industry for around about 22 years plus, in the military sector and in the public sector. So the presentation before around the RF radios, I was like, oh, I remember some stuff like that, and it got quite nostalgic. I predominantly now work within the design area of security, fundamentally around threat modelling, as it says on there. Outside, you may have noticed that I have a slight lilt in my accent. I'm not from England. I live in Ururi National Park in Snowdonia. Yes, it was a long drive this morning, and yes, I left at 4 o'clock to get here, but I'm here. I'm a proud military veteran, an average-ish ultra runner, and I co-host a podcast outside of doing everything else. But we're not here today to talk about me, thankfully. So, I'll show of hands who here is within a design space. So what I mean by design space is like your architects, your app builders, in DevSecOps, anything like that. Who's in the design space? Cool? Yeah, okay, we've got an ish, I like that. Okay, who's in ops then? What I mean by ops is red team, blue team, IMT, anything like that. Cool. And who's in other? So others like GRC, like where I kind of sit, right? That ish bit, yeah. So, quick question. Do you guys actually talk to each other? Regularly? Probably not. Some may, some not. Okay, so that's what we're going to go and have a look at today. But firstly, we're going to look at two roles specifically. Design role, right, and an operational role. So, if you're not familiar what design security do and what their roles are, fundamentally, they are there to make sure security is embedded right at the beginning of the design, of the inception of the idea. We want to build an application, we want to build it successfully and securely. They run along a lot around of secure by design principles or secure by default, or make sure that stuff is as secure as possible before it goes out of production. They also look at the fundamentals of your architecture, and they build it and they put stuff places and everything like that, build it out, and that's what they're there for. It's great. Normally they gather dust in a corner because we don't get spoke to very often. We kind of get rolled out, we build something, and then we kind of get kicked back in the cupboard. But that's what we kind of fundamentally do. And then you've got these guys, the shiny guys, right? The operational guys. These are the protectors, your attackers in some cases, right? These are the people that protect our front line with the shields. They are investigating, they're threat hunting, they're intelligence. There are teams when stuff go wrong, right? There are incident management teams. These are shiny guys, right? And the issue that we have is we both do the same thing. So the mission. So what do we think, and now this is a stupid question to a very intelligent audience, what do we think the mission is of these two teams? Do you think they've got the same mission first? Some say yes, some say no. Okay. Who says they have a different mission? Do you care to elaborate? Why you think ops have a different mission to design?
It's like trying to get it working. They don't really care how they get it working.
Not offended at all. It's a knife in the back. Okay. Who thinks that they are on the same mission? Fundamentally. Okay. So, what does design security do? They build stuff securely. What does operational security do? They protect predominantly, right? We both have, my honest opinion, we both have the same mission, right? Which is to protect at a fundamental level, right? Design, security, go there and say, we want to build this properly so that, touch wood, nothing happens if something happens, right? And operational security are there, real cream in their hair, all gelled, looking cool as anything. And he swore, thank God he didn't, because they're protecting us as well. But we're better apart, no? We have operational security over here doing their fantastic stuff, getting absolutely hammered every single day from vulnerabilities to people just attacking you all the time. And you've got design security over here in that dusty closet, like I said, building stuff, and architecture is like absolutely mega brains going, we can do this and we can do that. But we're better apart. We've always done this. We've heard this, probably heard this in security. Yeah, but we've always done it this way, so therefore it works, right? Well, I want to challenge that today and tell you that there's better ways when we collaborate. Now, as part of anyone's ecosystem environment, right, we tend to protect one thing, or we tend to look at one thing at a really high level, which is our attack surface, right? When we design it, when we build it out, we want to know how big the estate is. And from an operational point of view, we want to know how big it is so we can see where we need to put our sort of towers, turrets, ring mains, snipers, whatever you want to call them, right? Those outer edge protectors. So, could collaboration actually be part of our attack surface? Well, it could be, because if you don't collaborate, then there's an attack vector there of kind of like miscommunication. So then there's delayed response. If design knows something that could be fed up to operations earlier, then it helps that incident chain. They get up to speed a lot quicker. It's the same with operations. If they have something of an operational nature that they're seeing day in and day out, that's going to be fundamental for people in the design area. So we can start designing and building more securely moving forward. So collaboration, have a think, is that part of your attack surface? Is that something that we're actually neglecting? Why collaboration matters? Okay. You've probably heard the approach or heard the phrase siloed security or siloed teams in general. All right. In most businesses, you'll have 6 teams doing the same task, slightly different way, and they all think they've done the same thing. It's the best thing since sliced bread. I do it better than yours because mine has a shiny badge on it, or I do. Fundamentally, you're doing the same thing, right? It's all about siloed approaches. Now, why collaboration matters is because you break down that. You break down that siloed approach, specifically between ops and design. Now, I'm not on about getting in each other's pockets here, but there is an element of understanding what each other's does. So what happens if you don't? Well, we're at where we are now, by and large, right? So we have operations doing really cool stuff, protecting us, and then we have design people building stuff, sometimes, unfortunately, pushing stuff out into production that's could have been had a look at from an operational point of view first. We're putting tooling out there because, from a design perspective, yeah, there's a gap there, that's where we think. But what we're not doing is speak to operations and going, right, you guys know where we're getting hit, where we're getting popped, what the intel is like, what our past incident data is. Where should we put this tool? And they go, put it over here. Well, we're going to put it over here. There's no point because we've got X, Y, and Z in place there. Oh, okay, brilliant. All right, so having that talk and that collaboration, just on little things like that, helps us understand where our weak points are from a design perspective, but also from an operational perspective, how the architecture of the land lays. And if we don't collaborate, we're going to miss these little tricks and hints and tips. What you'll notice, just a side here, throughout my slides, I have infatuation with dogs. Okay, so there'll be dogs. Little happy dogs, right? So the benefits of cross-team collaboration. Okay, this is kind of like common sense. Why do we talk? Why do we talk to each other's teams? Why do we do this, right? Predominantly to share information. The more knowledge we know, the better we are at protecting from a design perspective and from an operational perspective. It makes sense. So how can it work? So there's two aspects to this. There is what can design give to operations and what can operations give to design. So we'll start with design first. What can design do? What can we do to help operations bring us out of that dusty closet, shake us off and make us get the brill cream in our, not my hair obviously, but in our hair to make us all shiny and new? So the first thing we can do, really simply, stop talking. Alright? Have that person, have that keynote, have your principal architect speak to a principal in security, or even someone that's in IMT or someone that's Intel. Hi, I'm Paul. I'm from Secure by Design. This is what we do. Oh, that's interesting. This is how we can help you, and this is how definitely you can help us. Have that conversation. Start having a conversation, it starts building, and we start building what is called, which we'll go on to in a bit, cross-team champions. So the first thing design people do, or what we should do, is a thing around collaborative threat modeling. So, just by show of hands, do people know what threat modeling is? Say yes, put your hand up, no if you don't. Okay, so there's a mixture of experience and knowledge around what threat modeling is. So I'm just going to go really, really high level of what threat modeling is. Threat modeling is a process at a design phase where you highlight threats or something that cause harm against a thing, right? Whatever you're looking at. This could be an application, it could be all the way, right the way through to a whole environment, SaaS or a whole infrastructure, right? Once you've got this massive list of threats, you go, right, we need to put some mitigations in place. What can we put in place to either eliminate that threat completely, or, if that threat is realized, limit the damage limitation? And that's what threat modeling is. Another way you can think about it, that some design people use, and some red teamers absolutely hate using this, is like a logical pen test. Alright? It's a way of doing a pen test at the design phase. We're not actually pen testing. What we're doing is we have our crystal balls on, we try and think to the future, and we try and think where threats could happen against the thing that we're designing. So that's what threat modeling is, and it's done at the design phase, predominantly. If you get multiple stakeholders involved in threat modeling, in general, okay, you get more people, more lenses, more different approaches on it. So, if you're doing threat modeling now, and it's just within a design community, you need to open the doors and get other people there. So, get your operational teams in there. Get even people from HR from there, right? Because they will bring a different lens on it from whatever you're building. It all depends on context. But bringing operational teams in does two things. One, it allows them from a really high level to understand how the designers and design security go about their day-to-day. So they're able to understand our network at high level, but from an architectural level, right? From a design point, we could highlight these threats and they can either challenge them, debunk them, or actually go, we've got another 18 threats we can put on here based upon what we know. That's really good, because in the design phase, then we can go, let's take all these out. We haven't got to worry about them when it goes into production. So bring them in early doors. What ops can do for design? Brings in on security reviews. So PIRs, so post-incident reviews, get designers in at that stage. Okay, what went wrong? Okay, we got popped by this actor using this method against this system, and this was the vulnerability. Why? Oh, because we didn't have X, Y, and Z control in place. Design people. Yeah. Okay, now we know. Now we know next time that that's a prevalent attack vector, that's a prevalent threat. Let's start, now next time we build this cloud platform, we build this application, we need to ensure that control A and C is now in place, not just A and B. Architectural decisions. Architectural decisions, which I'll go into in a little bit. Bring ops in on them as well. Talked a little bit about before about positioning of tooling and things like that. Build cross-team champions. I don't particularly like the word champions, but just build a cross-team person, people, select points of contact that can cross that bridge, that can make that gap, that can make that communication. Because if you all start shouting at each other straight away, it's going to be a whole lot of noise. No one's going to listen to each other. So you get that in the initial phases. You start getting that collaboration through a couple of people. I'll speak to IMT, I'll speak to Intel, I'll speak to the red team, I'll speak to the purple team, whatever, I'll speak to the blue team. And then you share information that way. Feedback loops. Feedback loops is massive, okay? What we find in design, we feed back up into operations. Things like, hey, operations, we've got this new cloud platform going online in 3 days. It's full of vulnerabilities, by the way. There you go. Or we go, hey, discovery, guess what we've just found in the data center? We've just found 4 racks of shadow IT. Have fun. Knock yourself out, right? What we do there is we're giving them early warnings of things, right? So that they're not starting from scratch. They can understand that. They can go, oh, right, okay, we've got vulnerabilities here. What controls are in place? Okay, do we need to add any more logging and monitoring requirements specifically around this? Okay, let's start building on that. Operations, they feed into us. Hey, Mr. Design people, we've just had this whole new threat brief come in that threat actor A is now attacking CRM systems with a particular threat using this particular technique. And they're going, and this control doesn't affect it. You need to put this control in place. Awesome, thanks. That gets spread out through the design community. We start building, anyone that's working on CRM systems, start using it. Ultimately, sharing is caring, right? Share data, share information, share our own methodologies, all right? If they can understand what design people do, and we can understand from a high level of what they do, particularly threat hunters, all right, and people do threat detection. From a design level, if we can understand how they work through things, it also gives us that little bit of an edge to go, how I design this is going to be slightly different because I'm going to look at it a little bit different way. So we can share our secure by design methodologies. So I've already touched a bit on this about roping operational teams in to start basically, hey guys, this is what we do, this is what we look at, this is how we do it. When you're going about your day-to-day job, this is how you could do it. Now, particularly threat modeling as part of a secure by design methodology is a really good tool to not only help things like threat hunting playbooks, but also informing logging and monitoring use cases within scenes and SOCs. But also, you could actually use it to scope pen tests, providing, there's a caveat here, providing that the threat model is of detailed. Right? You can't just go, yeah, I found X, Y, and Z threat. There you go, pen test, go for that. But you can use that type of information to be able to help scope a pen test. The architectural decisions I was on about before, bring them in. We've got this new shiny tool we've just bought off this vendor. It's cost us £8 gazillion. It's military grade. Alright? We always hear that word, right? It's quantum safe. Okay. It does best things. Yeah, whatever. Okay, where do we need to put it? Oh, we need to put it here. Are you sure? Yeah, right. I know what I'm doing. I was here when, Windows was invented. I know exactly what it is. It's going here. Well, actually, from an architectural point of view, that may make sense. But from a security point of view, we need to come to a balance here because that's dead space. No one looks there. It's even actually segregated, so it's absolutely pointless. Let's move it over here. And you have a collaborative conversation around where we allocate our specific resources from a security and operational perspective. The two are more than anything. Design risks. We've got a secure by design team. We're looking at these designs, the architectures, the design security. We find an absolutely horrendous risk or threat, but the business are gone, we need to go live Monday. We don't care, we're pushing ahead. Okay. We feed that back up. We feed them. We make operations as part of the design escalation chain. So then we can also go to the business as I'm dusting off my dust to say, I'm design security. They look at me and go, whatever. Mr. Guy comes in, shiny, cream. Hey, that's not happening. Okay? Operational point of view, we will be absolutely dead in the water. So, bring them in on that escalation. It helps articulate the risk better to the business if we have both parties working together. So, that's what design can give to operations. We're sharing, right? It's great. So what can ops give to us? Well, we have operational data. From a design perspective, it's absolutely fundamentally key. Specifically when we're threat modeling or specifically when we are architecturally building or designing anything. Threat intelligence. Now, you'd like to hope that most businesses have some sort of threat intelligence wrapper, whether that is an embedded team in large organizations where they have your own SOCs, your teams, or whether that is outsourced to a third party where they're able to feed you intel in. But that intelligence is absolutely key because that gives us real-time data, real-time dynamic data to understand where the actual real threat is from a design perspective. So let's utilize that data. Past incident data. Now, when we're designing and building, if we understand what's gone on before, what's been blocked before, what is dangerous, what is not, either at a industry level, sector level, business level, or even a device level or application level, that's really good. It's good for us in design. We can go, actually, yeah, we've been designing this all wrong for the last 15 years. We need to do this. And understanding our past incident data, what went wrong, all right, enables us to build securely move forward. Threat actors of interest. Scary, this guy. Right? Never trust little dogs. If you've got little dogs, I apologise. Don't trust little dogs. If we understand who's actually attacking us, what we're building, we can also understand what extra controls we have in place. Let's say we are building an application for a oil company, right? That has its own lane of specific threat actors that may want to attack that application over others. So you'll have your geopolitical or your hacktivists that may want to go for that, as opposed over to your script kiddies that won't really bother with it, right? So they have different TTPs, how they attack it, and then if you understand that, you'll be able to put different controls in place, or added controls in place, based upon what we're building, based upon what threats are attacking, your industry, your sector, your business, the application, the device. So what happens if you've got all this data? Well, you'll have this data of sorts, okay, because especially for actors of interest and intel, because 9 times out of 10 it's open source, right? Incident data you may not, but if you're outsourcing it, I would like to think you've got some sort of incident map around the business that you work in, because if stuff goes wrong, right, who are you going to call? Not Ghostbusters, right? Who are you going to actually call? Who's going to come in and save you? They'll have that data. How it all help though? Just, Paul, you've been talking for the last 25 minutes, really boring, alright, about sharing data, but how does it actually work in practice? Well, from an operations design point of view, it gives us real-time updates. When we're designing, we check in, okay, I'm just putting this in place. What does it say? Don't put that in place because it's really vulnerable, please. Okay, cool. It gives us an enhanced threat prioritization. Really fun, long, complicated way of saying what to look at first. Alright? You have a threat over here which is, oh my days, the world's going to end if this happens. And you have a little threat over here which, it's fine. But what you find is the controls over here mean that never happen. No controls over here, and this is how they get in. 9 times out of 10, edge devices get popped. Firewall's not being configured correctly, and everyone, the data is not encrypted. The cryptography is the last line of defense. Come on, right? If they've got to your data, they've got through loads of gates, loads of walls, bypassed everything to get to that data. Start at the outer edge, start moving our way in. So what may be on fire over here in your head is actually, you need to look out here. And that's why threat prioritization is massive. This is why we use the operational data to understand which of these threats lay in against your business or device or the sector or your industry. It gives us a bit of a motivation and tactic that help us make the design decisions. This goes back to the threat actor's point of view. If we know what we're building and designing, have a think, okay, who would want to cause this harm? Who would want to actually attack this? And do we need to approach our security control deployment a little bit differently depending on this? We have data-driven insights. So incident data. So there's a difference between threat intelligence and incident data. Threat intelligence is, it might happen. Incident data is, it has happened. It's concrete, right? There's no go back. It's fact, right? It has happened. So we can utilize that concrete evidence to make better design decisions moving forward. And again, say anything today, collaboration, feedback loop. It's helping that feedback loop. So what can design do? All the data that we're kicking over the fence to operations, well, it allows us to understand detection capability resourcing, or just resourcing in general around security tooling. It helps us provide, off the back of threat modeling, potential logging and monitoring use cases. Okay, we have this threat over here, we've got this control. However, if this control fails, alright, you need to look for this, and this based upon X, Y, and Z. It gives operations an understanding of your estate from an architectural point of view, because they don't really see it from an architectural point of view. They look at it and go, what's popped? Where's that? Who's in charge of that? There we go, who do I need to speak to? Alright, but if they kind of understand, like, cloud team, or over here, okay, we'll go speak to the cloud team. Right. It's highlighting any poor designs. So, discovery do this. If you have a discovery function, discovery by and large go out and look for vulnerabilities within your live network, right? They can feed that back in and say, we found this big hole that you pushed out 6 weeks ago and you said it was really good. And we're going, okay, yeah, no worries. We'll take that back, take that away. We'll take that learning away. And we're, yeah, okay, that's not a problem. And we give them early insight of any escalations at all. So anything that we think, from a design perspective, is going to cause us harm, operations need to know about it. What this does is, if we're pushing out, I mean, ideally, you want to push everything out as securely as possible, but sometimes that's not possible. Business needs, you mentioned it before, if you put too much stuff in place, people are just going to go around and bypass it and things like that. Put enough in place to get out the door and make it as secure as possible. But if we find something in design, we make operations go straight away. Like, it just makes sense, because if it does get popped, they're not starting from zero, from information zero, at the height of 100% of the incident. They're starting at a level where they go, yeah, exactly. Design told us about this. Here's the threat model to it. Right, okay. Does that correspond with how we actually got popped? No, it doesn't. Okay, there's learnings there. We can feed that back into design, or feed that back into our YPIR process. So key takeaways. The days of siloed security, it needs to change. I mean, it may not be the case in your businesses, but by and large, that there is still siloed security, right? And that needs to change. And collaboration is just one factor of that. Collaboration is definitely part of your attack surface, right? It is part of your attack surface. If we're not collaborating, we're missing a trick, all right? So start talking. Collaboration is not only essential, all right, but it's also strategic. You have to know that's the end. Alright? But in summary, what I've gone through here is kind of makes sense, right? You might think that's just all nonsense for the last half hour. We talk to each other. And if that's the case, awesome. I met a room full of 15, 20 people that all do that. Great, my job's done. Still worth 5.5 hour drive here, by the way. Alright? So, but I would like to hazard a guess that it's probably not happening. Okay? So collaboration is key. The sharing of those little data sets, all right, utilizing specifically operations lend more into this than design, to be fair. The more operational data you get into design security early on, the better, the more equipped we are to design more securely with relevant, timely, and accurate threat data. Otherwise, we're going, I've done it always this way, and this is how I've developed from the last 30 odd years. Yeah, but we're not looking at what's relevant now. All right, we need to start looking at what's relevant now, especially how threats are evolving, how new technologies are being evolved. Okay, and I don't class AI as a new technology; it's been around for donkeys. All right, but things like quantum, probably not going to see it in our lifetime. Yeah, touch wood. All right, we're probably not going to see it in an operational capacity in our lifetime. But it's still something that's being developed. And like that's an absolute game changer. That is like rip up the rule book. Where do we start? We're cavemen. All right. Thank you for your time. Is there any question? Yes.
So with the talking to each other, how do you prevent the other teams from becoming the enemy, so to speak? So they just become the people that give you more work to do by talking to them.
Can you give us an example?
So like I used to talk to devs about we've seen these security issues and they turn around and say, oh yeah, we fixed them, but they didn't actually fix them, we just wanted them to go away.
Okay, so that's different sort of angle. So what that tells me is that's poor business behaviour. That's poor behaviour on those devs, right? What that should be going around is that should be highlighted up to business and going, from a security perspective, we're telling them to look at this, they're not actually doing it, like, get your house in order. Okay? How do we stop them from being the enemy? Well, you need to go there with kind of mindset what I've just said there, right? The benefits. There's no I can't see, and I do this day to day in my working life now, I can't see any cons with not sharing of this data, because it helps us design better, and operationally, from a design perspective, again, it allows us to understand what's actually going out there. It allows us to open these curtains here, look out the dusty wardrobe and go, oh, daylight, happy days. We understand what's going outside. So it's going to those conversations with operations or I'm design. Generally, it's better if you come from the design side or either and go, I've got this set of data sets. Here's how I think it can help you, and start from there. Start building and explain why. Oh, well, we knew what was happening outside. We knew that we'd need to put locks on the door, or we need to put fences, or if we knew that at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, the absolute street gets packed out there, we kind of need to put some sort of lane system in place so then everyone can move freely and access can be in and out, as opposed to just closing the road up. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so it's going there with the benefits of understanding the data you want and need, because you may not need the intel, but understanding that they have data sets that are key to help us with design. We have data or information that is key to give them an early warning system within operation from a design perspective. Does that help?
Yeah, so yeah.
Very much so. Yes, we work out, say we work 3 months down the line.
100%.
Very much the idea.
Yeah.
So, and again, I really don't like to put people in this camp, right? But I see design security as proactive, and I see operational security as reactive, but we are shifting a little bit better to proactive and reactive in the operational space, right? So if we can give them more data, more information to get them to look more proactively, things like intel tippers, right? What would that look like? Like getting design involved into exercises, your tabletop exercises, get design involved at that point as well. All right, makes sense. They understand infrastructure. So you get a load of applications and you get a dev that goes, yeah, I'd do it this way, and the red team and blue team are like, okay, never thought of it that way. Well, not so much the red team, because they're absolutely just like, they'll launch themselves and do whatever they want. No offence to any red teams, but, you just do what you want. Right, the blue teams, are protecting it. So, it is about giving them that heads up. It is about giving that, putting the work in now to then prevent any pinch points or pain points moving forward. Any others? Yeah. I'm here.
So I'm in a place where the design team does a good job of feeding detection events to the ops team.
Yeah.
The ops team does a good job of feeding vulnerabilities back to design because they own the necessary.
Yeah.
That's one of the things you pointed out. The design team are not doing a great job of feeding vulnerabilities in the design, those insufficiencies you talk about, you take to design.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got any good methods of how you can feed that into ops?
Really simply, an escalation plan. Okay, you find a design risk, all right? Ops are part of that escalation, right? So normally you find a design risk and you go, design here's a big hole in here over here. And what kind of tends to happen is that go through the motions and the business go, alright, okay, just hand it to the risk lead, they'll sort it out, and never gets done. 6 years later we get popped from the same vulnerability we picked up from design. So what we found is if we get operations in at that point, okay, they're aware, and then we can then talk to business and understand from a business perspective why you're going to go ahead with that. Do you understand the risk firstly, right? Don't just sign it off. And if they go, no, actually we need to push ahead, operations are aware of it at that point. So they go, discovery, this is coming our way, right? When it comes in, here's the mitigations, and here's timelines specifically that design have give the business to put this mitigation in place. So we can then go and verify that through operations to go, actually, why haven't we put this in yet?
Yeah,
so really,
it's the plan, but they don't tend to be part of those risk acceptance events.
Yeah. So I would say initially a risk escalation layer is really easy to slot them in, and then build upon that. Right? And you could have some automation pipelines depending on where your models go or where your design goes, where it sends off a ticket to their system, it flags up on a system, blah, 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 right? It all depends on how automated you want to do it and how big the could. But the simplistic thing is, get them into an escalation process of some point. Any more for any more? Brilliant. Thank you very much.